Hi, my name is Elias. I'm from Multiversity, and this is the indomitable Paul Levitz. So,
sounds like an old Marvel Comics cover, the Indomitable. You know, I'm just a little nervous about that.
well, I'm sure you can live up to it. We'll get 75 issues and 4 annuals, and we'll be all fine.
Okay, I'll work on it.
All right. So now you're here with Valiant, promoting a new series, The Visitor. That's a 5-issue series, correct?
6, actually.
Oh, 6. We get one more issue. Even better. So, were you approached by Valiant, or did you approach them with the idea for this series?
I've been friendly with Fred Pierce, who's the publisher there, through several of his jobs, Wizard and even Valiant the first time. We'd go out to lunch a few times a year, and when he took over responsibility for the editorial side, at one of the lunches he said, "You want to do something for us? You got time? We got a couple of old characters that we're not doing anything with. How about I send you over the stuff, and you can change stuff, you can do what you want with it, but feel free." And I took a look at The Visitor. The name was a really cool name. There were a couple of things I liked in the original, a couple of things I didn't. And I came up with something, and they decided to let me play with it.
Right. So how did you, when you were approaching the character, what cues did you take from the original series, and what did you really want to change? How did you want to bring it into 2019?
Well, one of the things I really liked about the original series was I felt it had a very specific sense of place, which you don't always have, particularly in superhero comics. That first series was very much in Los Angeles, as Los Angeles really is. And I kind of looked and said, okay, maybe this series can be very New York and very specific to New York. And I got lucky with the artist, MJ Kim, who's working on it, wonderfully talented young woman. And she's really dedicated and sort of climbing on top of buildings and taking shots and figuring out how to get the right perspective. And really doing some amazing work to get the reality of New York into it. That was one of the major things to take from it. Some of the other things that I took from it, I can't reveal because you're not sure about it till you actually start reading more deeply. But mostly it's a very original story that connects into the Valiant universe eventually, but you can fall into without any real knowledge of the history of Valiant at all.
Did you take any approaches to this different from the way you approach sort of your DC work?
I tried to. There's a tonal difference to the Valiant work, and I read, I don't know, a dozen trade paperbacks that Fred had thrown at me to try and define a feel for that. Some of it is in the art and in the pacing, and I don't know if I captured it in a way that will necessarily be as exciting for a Valiant fan, but I hope I did.
So could you give us a quick, I guess, rundown of the tone and it appears, at least from the cover, to be sort of a spy thriller, but maybe not spy.
It's UN Week in New York, which paralyzes the city. If you're a New Yorker, you know well. And stuff starts blowing up. And in particular, there's a visiting group of scientists that have come to New York working on a secret project that's a very important one to them and their culture. And it becomes clear fairly quickly that they may be the target of what's going on. And the being that is at fault of this, that seems to be trying to kill them, isn't like anybody they understand or they know what is or who is or how is or why is or where from. And that's the Visitor. And why is he here, and why does he want to kill them or change what they're doing?
Sounds very intriguing.
With a little bit of luck, I mean, one of the things that I like to think I've done well in my career is to do layered mystery stories where you have to peel away things, and part of it is, who is this guy? Oh, why is he there? What are these people up to? And there are Easter eggs hidden in it that connect back to Valiant's history in some hopefully interesting ways.
Making it feel a part of the world without making it required knowledge to read everything else.
If I've done my job well, You don't have to have ever read a Valiant comic before to find it interesting. But if you've read a Valiant comic, you'll probably solve some pieces of the mystery a little faster than somebody else, but you won't solve all of it.
How has the scripting process been working with MJ Kim and the colorist and the letterer? Has the team affected the way that you scripted the story?
A little bit. I didn't know who the artist was when I wrote the first couple of issues, but once MJ was on board, we sat down, we talked a bit. We've done site visits together to look at different places that we might set pieces of the story, because she's New York based, which is terrific, so we've been able to begin to build a working relationship.
Are there any buildings or sites in particular that you found fertile ground for the story?
Oh yeah, we're having fun.
But none you can reveal.
It's very specific. So the first issue takes place largely in Manhattan, a little bit on Roosevelt Island, which is an interesting kind of peculiar spot in New York that most people don't pay much attention to and doesn't get used often for television or anything like that, because it's a pain in the neck to get to with a TV camera. And then it rolls out from there. Different kinds of, hopefully very recognizable, very idiosyncratic places.